This is a recorded version of the keynote presentation from the Sustainable Business Network given at the Unlocking Hampshire's Green Potential Conference. Hi, I'm Wendy Buckley and I'm Client Director over at Carbon Footprint, and also I'm the Chair of the Sustainable Business Network in the north of Hampshire, and it's really with that hat on that I come to you today to speak about Sustainability 101 and what I've called here the top 10 things that you need to do and you need to know in your business. It's going to be very practically based here, so we'll crack on with this and I hope you enjoy. What we did in the session was to do a quick poll and really ask about how many people sitting in this big room had actually understood sustainability well. We had a general split, really. A lot of people said they knew it somewhat well. A few claimed to know sustainability extremely well. Lots of neutrals there as well. Fortunately, there seemed to be hardly anyone in the room who knew nothing about it, so that's good to hear. Wherever you're coming from, there's going to be something good in here for you. We then ask, does your business have a measure of its carbon footprint? And about 50% in the room actually did have a carbon footprint, which is really heartening to see, actually. There were some that said they hadn't, and there were a few that said that they didn't know, which probably was more a case of it was not really being made available by the management. Again, that was good to know. We asked how old that carbon footprint was if it had been measured. For most in the room, they'd had that footprint done within the last 12 months, which is really good to see. Sometimes we ask this question and find that people haven't looked at it from times before the pandemic. So that was good to see that people were relatively up to date. Of course, carbon footprint needs doing every year. Now, this was the tricky one, asking about who understood what net zero means. For the purpose of this video here, I'm actually not going to read these all out, but this is what we asked in the room. And what I tell you is the answer that most people came through with was actually the definition of carbon neutrality, when the total emissions are offset with an equivalent amount from reductions and removals projects. That was the definition of carbon neutrality. Here I focused it a little bit towards just the reductions. That's how the room was thinking. And this is interesting because coming up really soon should be the ISO definition of net zero. If we take science-based targets view on this, then the correct answer would be the second entry along there, when the emissions are reduced by 90% or more and the remainder are offset by reductions offsets. We'll move on to those top 10 things that you need to do or you need to know. First of all is you need to do sustainability. Realise you need to do it. There's a lot of organisations on the screen here. Companies House, obviously through things like streamlined energy and carbon reporting, SECR means that all large entities have to report their carbon emissions in their annual report and accounts. If you're not at that size yet, you're still likely to be in a supply chain of someone that is and still be asked. I've put the Environment Agency there because they are running the Energy Savings Opportunity Scheme, ESOS. It happens every 4 years, and obviously energy and carbon are really two sides to the same coin. Put CDP down there also. That's a voluntary scheme, obviously, but if you're in a supply chain as someone who is already reporting into CDP, you may well be asked for your emissions as part of their own Scope 3 assessment. Various other bits of legislation, etc., quoted on screen there. Please do Google away at those and you'll see they all point in the same direction of why you need to do this. Moving on then. What is this about? Well, it's about carbon. Sustainability is about other things as well, with the 3 pillars, including economic and social, but it is a lot about carbon. And it's a very interesting measure and useful metric to have. We know that there are a lot of pressure to be reducing emissions Following on from the Paris Agreement, we know that emissions need to be reduced as much as possible so that we do basically plateau out at that rise in temperature from pre-industrial times at 1.5 Celsius. Just today, there have been a number of media items covering the fact that we're getting very close to this. So really, we need to act now. We need to do these things right now. I'll leave you to look up the Paris Agreement if you don't know that already. It's about sales. Yes, it is. Within your business, it's very important. Having the right sustainability credentials is really essential for this. On screen, we can see the Bagnall & Morris Waste Services website. Bagnall & Morris face some very big competition, much bigger players than they as a large size SME, if I can call them that, face. And really, one of the key things to their success has been to establish the right green credentials and to be disclosing them on the website. So if you want to look for very good examples of how to present yourself to market, please do go and check out Bagnall & Morris Waste Services. What they've done there is help them to enhance their brand, the reputation, and when it comes to RFQs and RFPs, they've got all those credentials they need to do really well. I'd also point out another business here, Circular Computing, based in Portsmouth in Hampshire. Here their offering is based on remanufactured laptop computers. So we don't want to be throwing away old laptops. We want to get as much life out of them as possible and spec them up. And this is exactly what the circular computing model does. So not content to actually do the right environment things within the business, the offering is central to what they do. The other one from Hampshire I wanted to mention was Simply Health. And with a health offering, they've realised this is highly synergistic with the environment and with sustainability, and have done a lot of work to line those things up. So please do have a look at Simply Health online as well. We'll move on to our next point, which is sustainability. It's about people. And looking at the IBM survey from a couple of years ago there, we know that job seekers are looking for businesses that are sustainable. That's quite a key metric there, and we know when they get into your businesses, they're going to be key advocates for it. So make the most of that valuable resource. Get them tasked on projects, give them proper KPIs. Don't just rely on a committee with no objectives that are not going to be looked at in their annual staff appraisals. Actually make it one of their KPIs. Sustainability, when you do it well, it should save you money. But as our Grail Knight here reminds us, we need to choose wisely. Right, when we look at the types of things we're trying to put into our buildings, it may not always be the most snazzy technology that you need. Sometimes it's modest things like insulation can save you a whole heap of money and reduce a whole lot of carbon. So sometimes those easiest things that aren't the most cutting edge technology really do it. I think in most of our businesses now we have LED lighting in place. If you don't, look at that. The cost points are very, very low these days for that. And also on the screen there, solar panels have never been more cost effective than ever. The price point's coming right down, and with the current and likely to be continuing high energy tariffs, payback periods are getting really short. Can be as low as 3 years in some establishments. So please do check out the business case for that. If you looked at it a few years ago, it's likely to be very different now. Sustainability, it starts at home, but it doesn't end there. Again, we've got those nice insulation LEDs, solar panels, all really, really good. So you're starting to bring those emissions right down. But you won't get it to zero unless you've got a very particular circumstance. You're unlikely to be able to get to zero. And this quote taken directly from Science Based Targets website makes the case very clear. Net zero urgent beyond value chain mitigation is essential. So what are they talking about beyond value chain mitigation? This is offsetting. Okay, this is doing some kind of reductions or removals in a place that's not included within your value chain. Science-based targets are also very keen to point out, without this type of offsetting, we won't meet societal and global net zero targets in time. So we have to get offsetting. The next one here, you do need to be measuring your carbon footprint yearly. Just make it one of the things you do. You need it to be management information as well for your team. Get it involved in your culture. Make it happen. And here is the carbon footprint business calculator. This has been in place now for 15 years. It is still the web's most popular carbon calculator, completely free to use, and this is externally audited as part of the quality assurance standard, so you know it's right. If you do use this, you'll also get a free report at the end, so please do go ahead and do that. I think there is a QR code coming up in just a few slides you'll be able to grab and go visit that on carbonfootprint.com's website. Once you do have your footprint, you need to disclose it. And I'm really pleased to say that we have just launched the Carbon Database Initiative, or CADI, that you can see there on screen. This is completely free to use, free to disclose your emissions on here, and free to search others. Make sure that your emissions are visible, put them on your website as well. Don't hide from there. If you hide from things, then for all intents and purposes, the public and your stakeholders are going to think you're not doing it. So don't hide from it, put those numbers right out there. This brings us on quite nicely, doesn't it? At some point I'm going to mention greenwashing. But also, I'm going to mention green hushing in the same sentence, because this is becoming a problem in itself. I think you all know what green washing is, so I'll focus on the green hushing aspect. Green hushing is where, in fear of having some criticism or some kind of negative media about our sustainability, we say nothing. And the big problem with this is that customers won't believe we're doing anything in the first place. Depending on what you're holding back, it might actually go contra to what you need to show legally. And the other aspect is peer support. If we're all doing these things and sharing our experiences and how we do it, obviously we get better and better and better, and that's that kind of virtuous circle. So it's really paramount that we do all tell people what we're doing. Obviously, you don't want to overstep the mark, but you need to tell the world what you're working on. Green hushing, please avoid it at all costs. Now, this should be music to your ears. If you're an SME, you're likely to find all of the sustainability steps here a lot easier than your corporate friends. Sometimes within corporate organisations, being larger, having lots of policies, having lots of levels of management can make things more difficult to implement. SMEs, by comparison, are more fleet of foot, so use that to your advantage. I'm showing here the publicly disclosed targets and progress of Tusker Direct, who are a salary sacrifice lease car business. Obviously, EVs make up a huge amount of what they do. Because the benefit in kind is so positive for EVs. And if you don't know about that, please go and have a look at salary sacrifice benefit in kind, and you'll see the numbers there for yourself. It's very compelling. Going back to Tusker then, they've had a fantastic reduction in their emissions over more than 10 years now, and they're charting there in that graph their progress to net zero, and actually that is pretty textbook. That is what you want to see. So they're an example of an SME who've really grasped this and realised it's not just things you do internally, it's your product offering to your clients and really delivering the goods to net zero. I'm going to show you just a few of those resources, I promised, so feel free to press pause at any point here and grab the QR code. This one's for the carbon footprint business calculator. You can use that, create a login. When you enter your data, you'll be able to store that, and also you'll get a free report at the end. So please do go check out that resource. I mentioned target setting, and here is a nice white paper by my colleague Joel Fernandez, who explains the maths in simple terms, give you some formula in there as well that you can put into Excel. So don't be daunted by a little bit of maths. This is made easy and you can pop it into Excel. You don't need expensive software to do this. So please do have a read of that white paper. Sustainable Business Network, we put all of our videos online. You're watching one of these here. We have a whole library of all the key subjects: supply chain carbon footprinting, product footprinting, net zero, sustainable procurement. We've got all of these things online for you to look at. So please do scan that code, go visit our video library. It's completely free to use. Our next event actually is on sustainable procurement, and that's going to be on the 1st of December. You can sign up to join live or to get the recording, so scan away on that, and we very much look forward to you joining the session. We have keynote speakers and also a panel session for that, so please do join us for the event. A little bit of further reading there. I'm sure you can press pause and grab those references there in a bit. Brings us to the end. This is a whistle-stop tour through Sustainability 101. Hopefully you're picking up one or two things there from us. So really parting message here, do go online, do grab those resources and carry on learning about sustainability and getting on doing it. Thank you very much and look forward to seeing you next time.